Welcome to this week's episode from the wings of
New York.
Thank you, Rebecca, for being here and
Thanks for having me.
for coming to New York with me. We finally made it, guys. Last night we did go see Rebecca's first Broadway production of New York, New York. Okay, Rebecca, so what is the difference between New York and Chicago?
Wow. Okay, remember when I said I think it's going to be the feeling of going to see actors who have made it on a New York stage? That 100% was true.
Yeah.
100%. And I think even the audience, the fact that the show has been open for only 18 days, you could feel energy. Like you even said, did you see the people next to me when they started singing New York, New York? Like they were going crazy. And like there's some of that in Chicago.
With the anticipation
but
of
the feeling
like,
was
this
different.
Love song to New York.
And you could just, and even when we were sitting in the mezzanine, so even when some of the actors came out in the first act, or the first scene where they were kind of introducing each character, people were clapping because these are these people's debuts on Broadway for some of them, which is like so exciting.
Yeah, that was definitely fun to
And then
watch
the set was insane. Like, oh my word.
Yeah, so tell us about the set.
So they had like, right when you walk in, you sit down, beautiful New York sign, and then on either side, they had like these railings, like almost, what would you call it, like fire escapes, but they were angled like down as the stage went back, and it really like drew you into the actual like stage performance. And then throughout the entire show, the way they moved them, and you said, you're like, maybe they'll move them like Newsies. They totally did, and it was insane.
Yeah, it was beautiful. What a beautiful set. I can't even imagine how much it cost them to do that.
Oh my word, no.
But to now talk about the nitty gritty, one of the things that I like so much somehow became a little bit of a distraction for me to really get into the play because it was so beautiful with these massive apartment buildings.
Yeah.
With the balconies that sloped down, like you said, they were constantly move them. And even though it happened effortlessly, the play is written with a little bit of short scenes in between.
Yeah.
And so I wish they'd have just left them there on the side all the time and then just moved something in the center and gone with it. Because I think that sometimes just the shortness of, okay, we moved that for this 30 seconds of a scene actually made it feel a little disjointed to me, honestly.
It definitely felt like a recently written production, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like the seamlessness wasn't there, like you said. I really still enjoyed it, and I liked the little bitty scenes in between. And I didn't like notice that as much because I was just like, what's the next act going to be? And the lighting was insane.
Yeah.
The way that they used light was another character in and of itself. Like it could go from one place to another, not by taking anything off the stage, but just by bringing light to a certain part of it. Amazing.
And the blocking that happened with it.
Yes.
So they would do a scene that would make it seem like they were on the subway, and so the way they would line the cast up upstage to
oh my
downstage
word.
And
all
then have
tight.
them do their movements. It was really brilliant. Well, we haven't really told them what the play was about. So
synopsis.
Why did you do that?
So the quick synopsis is, it's called New York, New York, and it's basically about musicians in the 40s trying to make it here in New York. And the lessons they had to learn, that a lot of them have to have jobs on the side and they can't just do what they want to do, even though they're really good at it. Because this is right after the war. So a lot of these guys were using these talents actually in the war, became really good at it, but they couldn't find jobs. And there's a love story in there, which is like really beautiful. And
the respect for the people that were like in control of whether you made it or not, and whether you could get a gig on the side, and if you were the wrong skin color or they didn't like you for whatever reason, then they just wouldn't give you the opportunities. And I thought that was really interesting. I've never really seen anything about that kind of thing before. So
that was, and it's even just beautiful to see the reasons why people did what they did. So like there's one guy who's kind of flippant and he leaves jobs sometimes, but he had a really deep story about why he did what he did and the person he was. And all these people I thought the character development was really good.
Yeah. I think we both had different views. We liked some of the same things. We both loved the set.
Yeah.
I was not crazy about the music. And I think you liked the music.
I did.
Right? Yeah. I was a little distracted about a fact that Rebecca told me before we started.
Whoops.
And so I found myself going, which was the song? song that she's talking about? And
Yeah.
do you want to fill them in on that?
Yeah, so one of my friends let me know that Lin-Manuel had a song that he had written either previously around the time or was going to put in Hamilton, and they put it instead in this production, and it was the very first song. And the whole time we were trying to figure out what song it was.
Because nothing seemed like something that he would have written.
Yes.
To me.
Yes, or didn't fit the play so well.
Like if he was thinking about doing it in Hamilton, then how did it fit in Hamilton and this one? That was what distracted me, I think.
Right.
So I kept waiting for that same kind of.
But then you also, but what did you think about the music, I guess, other than that?
I had songs that I liked, but again, it was something that took me a really long time to get into. So I felt like the first 3 or 4 songs seemed like they should go with different musicals. It didn't seem like they were all setting me up for the feel of New York. And most of the time when I fall in love with a musical, it's because the music is something that is just feet tapping, emotionally stirring, and you have a couple songs right away that get you and you love. And the whole first act, I didn't feel that way about anything. And so I think for me, that was part of the reason that it took me a long time to get into it, because I kept waiting for that big number that I would love, or how the story was going to build like that. And it just didn't do that for me.
It's interesting, because for me, I loved it. I really did love the music. And even, it was in the second act, but there was a song where the lead actor sings kind of his main solo song, and it's very melancholy, and it was so quiet, and I was so surprised by that, because when I think of New York Broadway, I think of, which a lot of this show had, huge numbers, huge harmonies, huge band, but this one was just him lamenting, and it got so quiet in the theater at times, and the way he was even singing was so whisperish. I thought it was beautiful. We were all feeling what he was feeling by the lack of sound, not the amount of sound.
Well, I do say that that's probably kudos to the people, the tech crew, that would make it so that you could hear him almost singing in a whisper and feel that emotion all the way up where we were. We were in the next to the last row of the second balcony, so we were pretty far away.
Which so professional, the sound quality and the lights quality. You're just this is it. This is Broadway. This is the dream of all lighting and sound. When it comes to theatrics, they want to make it here, and it totally paid off. The amount of expertise they had was insane.
It has a little bit of a bandstand feel for those of you who have seen Bandstand, and if you know anything about that musical, the musicians play live on stage, and for this one, I would say that was what ultimately made me really respect Colton Ryan, I believe his name is, who is the lead guy. Because, he's pulling out a saxophone and playing on the piano and he's singing. And so ultimately I didn't really love his singing voice, but I admired him so much for what he did as an actor, and then also just overall the fact that he could play all these instruments. The guy who played the trumpet in it, and there's also a violinist who also had a beautiful voice. So that feel for me is something that really, I think I liked more than the story. For me, the weakness of the play is in the script writing. I did not love the plot. I felt like it was a little disjointed for me. And so it took me a little bit more to love it, because I had to get past the distractions, because the story wasn't carrying it for me.
Yeah, I think in the very beginning, the very first scene, I was like, wow, are they acting? I wasn't really sure. For me, it got better as time went on. But again, I think it was a different experience for me, because this is my first time in New York ever. My first Broadway production in New York. I thought it was it could not be more perfect. So I think this play maybe is more for new Broadway members, maybe someone, I would say if it's your first time in New York, if you could see this play, it helps so much to get the inside jokes too. All day we had been walking around, going to see different places, just walking the streets of New York, and New York, and I got a lot of the jokes because we just had spent that day in here, and crosswalks and things like that. And they had a whole scene one time where the people were walking slowly and waiting at crosswalks and then going, and I was like, oh, I get it. This feels like the city. The play feels like the city.
She actually asked me during intermission if I felt like this play would work anywhere else besides New York.
Yeah.
And I said, I think it would, because just like Chicago that musical happens other places.
Yeah.
But I do think it's better here because the people here love New York, love being in New York. And I think that it is a love story to the city that people love so much and has started careers and broken careers. What would I give it on a scale of everything? That's really hard because it had that ending moment of New York, New York, where they brought the band out of the pit, and you know, it was just such a great moment. And that's what she was talking about when people were bouncing all around me. People were waiting. Finally, they sang the theme song that everybody wanted them to sing, and
the audience sang along.
It was great. It was a magical moment, but I didn't have that many magical moments through it. So honestly, I'm going to be kind of harsh. As much as it had some things that I really liked, I think that a 10 needs to mean something, right? So if you're going to give a musical a 10, it needs to mean something. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Okay, that's very fair, though. I feel like that's, yeah. I would say I have to give it like a 9.5 because it's my first musical ever.
We'll see if she changes her rating after she's been to 3 more.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say what's the audience for? Who would you say the audience for this show is? I would say
people from New York.
People from New York have to go see it.
Musicians
I would say
new
to New York. We have a friend named Kelly. She loves New York so much. She needs to go see it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like those kind of people. So maybe this is not, if we're coming here, maybe it's not for everyone.
There's a lot of shows to see.
Yes.
This would not, if I had to do it all over again, I might have substituted this one with something else.
Interesting.
But I might not have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So I really wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to see it at some time.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things to see here on Broadway that maybe this is not your first choice.
But I feel like, today we're going to go on a bus tour, and I feel like that play was almost a bus tour of New York, if that makes sense.
A bus tour of Broadway.
I mean that in a good way, but just very introductory. I enjoyed the music. The dancing was amazing. Everyone was talented. Like there was not one person that was not incredible.
Yeah. Well, the direction by Susan Stroman, I mean, she's genius, so it makes a lot of sense to me. But anyway, we have a lot to do today and a lot more to record, so we're going to say goodbye to you. But we want you to know that we really appreciate you, and we hope you'll spread the word about what we're doing, about trying to build more awareness in theater and healthy choices and what's out there and what you can do. So we hope you'll take a moment to like us, follow us, and share us. If you could do those 3 things, it would really, really help us show that you think that it matters, that clean theater matters, and it's something that more people might want to know about. So until next time, this is just me.
And me.
Talking to you
from the wings.